that the development of the world is dependent on communication. And having said that already 150 years ago, is actually still relevant today. So I think you could say that he was a very visionary man. And the reason for establishing the company, Great Nordic, which is the mother company, was actually that we put down all the first cables going from Northern Europe all the way to East Asia, so that they could have the telegraphs working. So that's where we started 150 years ago. Today, in the Great Nordic company, we are actually a company of around 5,000 employees worldwide. Around 1,000 employees belongs to Jabra, the Jabra part of Great Nordic. And we have within the big mother company, if you will, we have Jabra. We do headsets and audio solutions for the professional space and also for the consumer market. Then we have Resound, who's actually a hearing aid company. And then Ultrametrics, which makes equipment that you use when you measure hearing aids. And it's important to see that we are very closely connected to the Resound, to the hearing aid company, because in Copenhagen, in all our laboratories, we actually have both the engineers from the hearing aid company working closely together with the engineers from the Jabra company, so they actually work together to leverage their skill sets. That was just a little bit about who Jabra is and why we believe we have a voice in this industry. And now I'd like to take you through part of the new ways of working. This is an area that we have been looking into and have sponsored research for the last 3 to 4 years. And you could ask, but why are we even interested in something like new ways of working? We just sell audio products. The reason why we're very interested in this part of our market is simply that our mission in life as a company in Jabra is really to help companies become more productive. And that's how we do that, is to supply the right solution. But we can only supply the right solution for the companies when we know exactly what they're struggling with. So that is where the whole thing around new ways of working really stems from. New ways of working is very much around the knowledge worker. And back in what is, you can't say this, but actually back in 1959, Peter Drucker was also another visionary person, saying that the most valuable asset in the 21st century will actually be the knowledge workers. And you would ask, but what is a knowledge worker? A knowledge worker is actually someone who has the primary task of converting data into knowledge that enables you to take some good decisions and then bring these into play with colleagues and business partners. So it's really anyone who works with knowledge or works with something that they have to transform and share with other people. I would believe most of the people in this room today is probably knowledge workers. And at the same time, we see that these knowledge workers are becoming the biggest part of the workforce in the future. And the future is not really that far away. It's in 5 years, 2020. The prognosis is that 80% of workers on a global scale will actually be some sort of knowledge workers. And you see where we come from. Back in the turn of the century, or last century I should say, it was only 10%, because back then there was still a lot of factory work, there was a lot of people working in the farming, but this is sort of the modern society, how that's transforming. And obviously, if you are a company today and you see that more and more people are working as knowledge workers, how do we then help these people, these 80%, to make sure that they are as productive as they can possibly be?
Is that global?
That's a global number, yeah.
80% of the workforce is knowledge workers globally.
Globally. I can check my source.
So
Sorry,
we'll
hang on.
Not today.
Not today. No, sorry, it's me, I'm wrong. Percentage of US workforce is this. So, yeah. So that was my mistake. This is US workforce. So all these knowledge workers, constantly for the last 40 years, we've seen more different types of technology being aimed at these knowledge workers to make sure that they are as productive as they possibly can be. This is some of the latest technology that's been brought forward, where we see more and more, and also here, as you can see, unified communication is playing an increasing role in this part of it. So you would think so many people more and more being working with knowledge and being offered all this new technology, you would think that actually we would see an increase in productivity. But what we actually see here is that productivity is actually going down. And you can here plot in a lot of technologies that has been put forward during the last 50, 60 years. But still, at the end of the day, productivity hasn't really increased so much. And you could wonder, why is that? Why is it that, given all these new technology and a whole new workforce that is sort of directed to create knowledge work, why is productivity not increasing? Part of the reason is when you start looking into the different companies is who actually owns productivity in these companies. Back 50 years ago, it was quite easy. In a factory, for instance, who owned productivity? It would normally be the site manager who would be responsible for a certain output. But when we ask our customers today and business partners, so in your company, who actually owns overall, who owns productivity? A lot of companies actually struggle to give that answer. And looking at Jabra, I can see that when we create new products, we put a team in place. Someone is held responsible as a project manager or program manager to drive that program through. But who owns the productivity of people like me in the company? It could be my manager, it could be HR, it could be someone else. But the truth of the matter is we haven't really established that responsibility, and that's a fact in many companies today. Then you might say, but why is that? Why is that no one feels the responsibility overall for productivity in a given company? Well, maybe if we look a little bit back again, what we see here is that actually, or you could be a little bit provocative and see, but is it because we haven't really put enough emphasis and reflected enough about how is it that we organize work today? You see, in 1945, that was a typical office setup back in that time, where it was actually, you could see the physical layout was actually quite a bit like a traditional assembly line. And next to it you have a modern open office space. It's not that different really. Now you have PCs rather than you have typewriters. But it's still very much sort of a lineup that has been set up. And is that the way to unleash all this creativity and productivity that all these people need to deliver to the organizations? This is another maybe slightly provocative picture. This is an IT manager. He's decided that he needs his knowledge workers to become more productive. He's decided, I'm going to invest in some sort of UC investment. I want to bring UC to my organization. And then he deploys it, and then he prays and hope it works. Actually, when you look into some of the latest research around UC deployment, actually it says that only 50% and a little bit more than 50% are truly successful, are really getting to that productivity level that they were hoping for when they first took that decision. So this is a typical, and I think it can be UC, it can be many other technologies that all of us has been presented to over the years, that this is the latest new thing. It might be CRM, it can be a lot of other things. Please start using it, and then you tend to leave the users on their own and hope they figure it out. And then why even bother about productivity for the knowledge workers? Isn't that just supposed to happen by itself? Well, the fact is really that if any company that, thank you, yes, thank you. Thank you. The companies who actually take this serious and look into ways of trying to find out how can they increase the productivity of their knowledge workers, they have a tendency to be twice as much or have twice as good a financial performance than companies who doesn't. Simply because they manage to get more productivity out of their workforce. And why does it matter to Jabra? As I said, why do we even care about all this? Well, we care about it because we believe we can help improve this productivity for the knowledge workers. We do it our way. We're doing it one day or one work mode at a time. In Jabra, we tend to talk about use cases and work modes. How is it that we work, and how can we then make the right solutions to help, to enable you to better work in these specific setups. It's okay, it's giving me this, I'm not quite sure. I'd rather use this. And last year we launched our Evolve series, which you have some examples from that series down at the demo table. And the reason we did that was because we were so curious about these knowledge workers and what was holding their productivity back. We said, well, we found out.
That's just the lights. You can play it on the table.
Okay. He was giving it, I thought I could use it too.
No, it's just the lights.
Change lights.
Okay, no. We went through that in the room earlier.
All right, okay, thank you. Good thing I wasn't clicking it.
That's the magic lighting control. It's lighting productivity.
Yes, that's right. So last year when we did a research into 3,000 of these knowledge workers, and that was a global study. And what we found that one of the things that really or mostly impacted their productivity was actually the people around them, their colleagues in these open office spaces, all the noise from colleagues around you. So that was the pain point for the users, was then this noise in the open office. And the solution we brought to market last year was the world's first office headset with active noise cancellation. And we went back and we surveyed not 3,000, but a lot of these same users who have now had the opportunity to work with some of our new Evolve products. And 73% of them actually said that now they felt they were up to 25% more productive. So this is one bridge of showing how we do some research, try to really truly understand what matters to these knowledge workers, and that then brings makes us develop specific solutions to sort of help those pain points. So that was last year. That was all around concentration, to help people concentrate better in the offices. This year is all about collaboration. And this is what is collaboration? These are some amazing achievements that has been done via collaboration. The pyramids, even back before, 256 years before Christ. And to the latest, one of the latest is really the Palm Island in Dubai. But to get to that stage, to bring this type of achievements to play, you need to do a lot of collaboration. You can't do it on your own. You need to collaborate with people close to you, people around you, across nations and so forth. And when we then look deeper into knowledge workers and how do they work with collaboration, what we found was actually that knowledge workers tend to spend at least 18 full days a year in meetings. That's a lot of time. And some of these knowledge workers are quite also very expensive people. So it's a lot of productivity that goes into these meetings. And are all these 18 full days that you spend in a meeting, are they 18 very productive days? Not really, because what we also hear back is a lot of people, for various reasons, attend a lot of meetings that aren't really all that productive. There can be technical issues, how do you set your equipment up, there can be audio issues, it can be maybe you happen to be invited to a meeting and you showed up, turned out really not to be your agenda, but you were there anyways. So there are a lot of elements. And then another 63% actually also stated that their performance during these meetings were actually negatively impacted because they spend too much time on trying to be heard, hear what people are saying from the other end, and also potentially simply trying to get the whole equipment to work. And that's a high number, 63%. So now that sort of led for us at Jabra, we feel that we now begin to understand how these knowledge workers work when they're in their collaboration mode. And then that for us, that means that we can then start consider what is then the technology and solution that we should then bring to market to counter that. This is why we talk about that we have this, that we back the new ways of working with the new products. And that is actually the 810 that you can see there. And then we go a bit more into, so why is it that we've developed the product that we have? What we have seen is that getting started